Welcome, everybody. My name is Dave Hirschman of Origination Pro Mortgage School, also of Weichert Financial Services. Today is Business Planning 2020, also subtitle, Another Year, More Change. Quick introduction to myself, since many on the line have not met me before. I've been in the industry for over 30 years. Among other things, that makes me old. I started as a producer, doing almost 600 transactions in my first 18 months in the industry, including closing 60 deals in my 12th month. I run sales forces for large production organization, directed the sales force for technology leader Ellie Mae. I published 7 books in the industry, plus hundreds of articles. I've been a director and a founder of a federally chartered bank. I've held national management conferences, and I've been a keynote speaker at hundreds of industry events. Our goals today: we're going to go through a brief legislative market update, a glimpse at the future. We're going to talk about our main goal today, which is about doing, not just about planning. Then we're going to cover our goals, our long-term goals, our annual goals, and segmenting our goals to day to day. And then lastly, all important, we're going to cover our implementation obstacles. So let's do a quick industry update. Biggest news for this year is unexpected lower interest rates. That helped just about everybody. Recently, Fannie Mae has announced new conforming limits. That's $510,400 as a base and $7,656 in high-cost areas. FHA just last night released their new limits, which is a $331,760 base and the same high-cost limit as conforming in higher cost areas like Washington, D.C. and New York City and so forth. VA has eliminated their loan limits this year, still awaiting specific rules for FHA on how they're going to do it. VA is also raising the funding fee 20 basis points next year, though those who are on reserves or have served in the National Guard, actually their fee is being lowered. FHA this year issued spot condo rules. That should help us with the first-time home buyer market. And for next year, is the only thing I could say for sure is next year we will have a presidential election. I know it'll be painful for everybody to see, but I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. Of course, I'm being a little sarcastic, of course. I'd like to welcome our members, our marketing system and mortgage school members. Trial members get full access to our system for 14 days, but we're not going over our system today because this is a webinar which is being presented to many segments of the industry. So there'll be no commercials today. We just want to welcome our members. So we're going to get right to it. Business Planning 2020. We've had several sign in since we started. Just want to remind people, A, this is being recorded. Number 2, you are muted out, but you can ask questions, make comments on the panel on your screen, and we will hopefully finish a few minutes early so we can take questions. So let's start with this. This program applies to just about everybody, anybody in business. We focused our list today on realtors and loan officers, but it applies to financial planners, title business, anybody who's in business. I will repeat again, and I'm sure I'll repeat it a few more times. This is a program that's not about planning, but about doing. Today's exercise is not sexy. It's about rolling up your sleeves and getting dirty. And it's not about just writing numbers on a piece of paper. It's designed to make you think about your business. I believe that most people don't think about their business enough. We just go day to day. If you're looking for a shortcut for success, you're not going to get it today. Um, we're not even going to finish the exercise today. We're just starting the planning process today. When you see our planning form, which everybody will get access to, you'll see what I mean. It's quite an exercise. So let's take a look at the future. And I'd like to make it just a quote from um, the Joint Center for Housing Studies of Harvard University, who projects that 12.4 million additional households will be formed between 2018 and 2028, which makes this decade one of the strongest for housing in U.S. history. This housing demand surge will be driven by Hispanics, Asians, millennials, and now Generation Z. So my question is, are you ready for this future? Because it's going to be a strong decade. Now, what is it going to take for you to succeed in one word? Really simple. Leadership. You need to have confidence. Not only confidence for you to do your business, but confidence to lead others. You need to instill confidence in others. We need leaders now, not skeptics. You need the ability to adapt to change. For example, tax law changes. You need to be able to instill a positive attitude to your prospects. There are opportunities that are very unique today, but you can only take advantage of these opportunities if you have a plan, and that's what today is all about. Today is all about goals. Today we're going to look at your long-term goals. What I say is what is important. We're going to look at your medium-term goals, which is your year-to-year, including doing an evaluation of the previous year. Then we're going to look at your short-term goals, or another way of saying what actions will lead you to your long-term goals. I call this the segmentation of your plan. Again, if you have questions as we go along, just let me know, and I will be watching as we go. So, if this is about goals, I need to start with the keys to goal planning. In order to be successful, your goals need to be realistic. If you made $20,000 next year, you're not likely to make $300,000, or last year you made $20,000. You're not likely to make $300,000 this year. It's got to be realistic. There's nothing that is more disconcerting than setting goals that there's no way you can reach, so you never feel good about yourself. Now, on the other hand, your goals must make you reach. They've got to be significant. So that creates a balance between, putting out just goals that you can't reach, but still making yourself reach. If you made $50,000 this year and you're going to say, I'm going to make $50,000 next year, then you're not growing. If you're not reaching, you're not growing. Your goals need to be finite or limited. I'm going to make that point a lot today. If you set too many goals, you're not likely to achieve any of them. Your goals need to be measurable, which means specific. I can't tell you how many business plans I've put together with realtors and loan officers, and they have general statements like, I'm going to become more organized this year, or I'm going to do this next year, or I'm going to work harder. You need to find what that means. You need to make your plans public. Make a commitment. There's two reasons for that. When you make them public, you're making a psychological commitment. More importantly, when other people know your plans. And by other people, I mean, hey, your manager, your peers, your spouse, everybody you know. When they know what your goals are, they can help you. And believe me, you can get more done part of a team than you can by yourself. And then you need to implement immediately, but one step at a time. Not used to planning, try baby steps. And I'm going to add one more here. When you make this public, this is all about having a vision. And if you want that vision to come true, you need to put all aspects of the plan. You need to get all the stars aligned in order to make it happen. That's why you're making it public. So let's start with the first step, what I call what is important. Too many times we go through life worrying about our next paycheck, getting from A to B, getting to the end of the day. And what we do is we ignore the big picture, especially when things really get tough in life. I'll give an example, your health. Making money is not all that important if you're not healthy enough to enjoy it. Now I'm going to just list some things off. I'm not telling you what you should do. Matter of fact, there's nowhere in here that I tell you what you should do. They've got to be your goals. But here's some examples. Exercising regularly. Stop drinking in excess. Stop smoking cigarettes. Get off the caffeine. See your doctor. It never ceases to amaze me that someone would spend hundreds of dollars per month on coffee, booze, or cigarettes, but can't afford to fund their retirement plan or invest in their business or join a gym. Or, conversely, they join a gym but never go to that gym, so they invest the money but don't invest the time and the energy. That's not the only thing that's important. Stress. How about eliminating stress in your life? You know, we are all connected to work, it seems, 24 hours a day. We've got all this technology that was supposed to make it easier, but all it did was put us in communication mode 24/7. So my question to you is, what do you do to lower stress? Maybe perhaps you need to spend just a few minutes a day decompressing. Turn your cell phone off. Spending time with family. I could keep that one short by saying no one dies and says, I should have spent more time working. Yes, today is about working, but that doesn't mean you ignore the time you should be spending with your family. Moving towards financial security. Everyone wants to make more money, but my question is, what is that money for? Is your retirement plan funding? What about long-term needs, such as college for your kids, long-term care, and life insurance? What interim steps you need to take? For example, improving your credit score and or paying off debts. Do you have a will? Do you have a financial planners? So many mortgage people and real estate, people say, hey, we're planners, we're advisors. Yet, but they don't have plans themselves. Lastly, your career. Is your career rewarding? Are you helping enough people achieve the American dream of home ownership? Or are you helping people develop a career? I can tell you this, not only because I've hired tons of people, trained tons of people, and written books and given speeches across the nation, I can convert that into helping tens of thousands of people achieve the American dream. And that is very satisfying for me as I get towards the end of my career. So my question is, are you where you want to be? Are you a manager or are you a leader? Are you a realtor or a loan officer, or are you an expert? Do you enjoy what you do? What would make it more enjoyable? And I want to beseech you here to at least recognize the difference between short-term factors that happen to us every day, title problems, appraisal problems, home inspection problems, that we get lost in the forest, and we ignore the fact that we do something really, really important in this industry, which is helping people with the most important decision that many of them, financial decision that many of them make in a lifetime. This is the time of year we should be pulling back and understanding how important it is. I don't want to really insult anyone on the line, their spouses, whatever, but we don't sell light bulbs here. We do something really, really important. So let's stop for a second. Let's go back to our keys of goal planning: realistic, significant, finite, measurable, specific, public, and immediate implementation. What I want you to do is just take a moment and just jot down, and you should have a notepad with you or something, a couple of goals that you might espouse to for yourself, whether it is health, financial, career, just something to think. And remember, this is about thinking today. So we're going to start this. I'm not going to change your life goals, with an hour webinar. But you know what? What I'm telling you to do is think about it. So let's take a few seconds. And then we'll move on. Again, we have a lot of stuff to do today, but as I said at the beginning, we're not going to finish the process. We're going to think about the process. So the second stage, the evaluation phase, leads to mid-range goals. Okay? In other words, here's the point. In planning, this is not about you starting over and completely changing everything you do. It's about taking what you already do and making it hopefully better. So you can change if you don't know what you're doing now and you know what's working and what's not working. So everybody's doing good things. We want to enhance those. Everybody is doing things that are not quite as productive. We want to minimize these. So what I'm asking you to do is to think of, again, if you've got notes or something with you, to list your 3 present most productive activities or relationships. Relationships might be with a specific person, referral source, let's say. Activity might be a marketing activity or something you do every day. Your most productive. And then list your three least productive activities and relationships. Now, we're going to get more specific with this in the long run, but all I'm doing here is getting you to think about it. And what I'm going to get you to think about it is, how are you going to add, eliminate, enhance, or minimize these? So some of these you should eliminate, right? Some of these maybe you add new things to, or you enhance. But the question is, how are you going to do that? Here's the point. If you don't change what you're doing, you're not going to be able to change your results. That is absolutely guaranteed. So let's look at what you did last year. Now, I'm saying the words last year. Sometimes I do this at the beginning of the year. In essence, really, I mean, what are you going to make this year? Actually, this has already become last year, because whatever you do today is going to help you for next year. So let's start with, what was your income goal for last year? What did you actually make last year? If you achieve your goals, and they weren't, just very low goals, I have to say congratulations. Now, if you didn't achieve your goals, I want you to give 3 reasons why it didn't happen, and only one external factor is allowed. For example, external factor might be the economy or interest rates. So I don't think anybody can use interest rates. Might be the weather, something that happened, something you can't control. The second factor would be an event factor. In other words, maybe you got sick for 2 months. I hope that didn't happen, but if it didn't, it may have affected your business. Or you had a kid got married, or you got married, or maybe you switched jobs last year. Those are all event factors. Then internal factors. For example, how hard you worked, what your attitude was like. I want you to give me one of each of these factors. Again, just write down in notes. We have this on the planning form, but it helps to know what I'm asking for there. Now, I'm going to call these things excuses. Excuses of why you did not happen. I could have called it something else. We can call them factors. But I'm going to do something which I consider pretty magical. I've never seen anything do it before, anybody ever do it before. But I'm going to do it today for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys all a do-over. I'm going to start the year all over again. Abracadabra, it's done. There, we got it. You all get it. So here's my point to you is, I want you to think for a second again now, but think a lot later about, if you had the year to start over, what would you have done different with regard to these factors? And the reason why we're doing this is this will give you a great hint about what you really want to do next year. If you should have reacted differently this year, my guess is a lot of that might apply to next year as well. So I'm going to give you a do-over. I want you to think about it for a moment, then we'll continue on. When I do this live, by the way, we spend a little time doing discussions on this stuff. Takes a little bit longer, but it's a little more fun that way. So, what is this leading us to? This is leading to your yearly goals. Again, you need to be specific, not just your income and transaction. How many leads from each referral source? What will your conversion percentage be? What will your fallout rate be? And so here, this is a section of the planning form. You can see what I have here is the typical funnel. Okay, I got my income. How many transactions do I need to close? How many leads do I need to bring in? What do my conversion rate need to be on the leads? And what is my fallout rate need to be? For example, if your fallout rate last year was 20%, maybe you need to bring that to 10%. That alone would give you a 10% increase in business. If you can increase your conversion rates, perhaps by getting better at role playing and so forth, better at scripting, that could help you as well. So this is a little bit more of your typical yearly goal form, but notice in the third column, what do I need to do to make this happen? Again, we're going to get more specific about that shortly, but I want to make sure everybody sees this. Now, so you could start thinking. I want to remind everybody that I will be answering questions at the end of the webinar. We've already got a few in. And that's why I go through these things so quickly. Okay, the third stage is getting down to specifics, segmenting. After a cursory look at the previous year and the long-term goals, now it's time to get to, the specific actions that are going to help me achieve these goals. The targets, the tools, the actions. Here we are in the blue down there. What is going to help me achieve these medium goals? Specific actions that are going to get you from A to B. So I call this segmentation, and I'm going to give 4, maybe 5 segmentations. I always forget the number. The first one is the most important of all, and it's the most important sales tool you will ever see, and that is the mirror. I don't care about anything else you've heard of. The mirror is the most important one. The example I always give is Alcoholics Anonymous, which, by the way, is not a subsidiary of the National Association of Realtors. That usually gets a laugh in a live audience. But here's the point. The first step of the program, Alcoholics Anonymous happens to be the largest training program in the world, which, by the way, is a sad thing. But the first step is you got to admit that you are an alcoholic. If you don't get past step 1, you will never get better. Well, here's the point. You will never improve your results until you admit where you need improvement. You will notice the very top thing here is internal honesty. It's even more important than attitude. Everybody says attitude is the most important thing. But let me tell you something. Do you know somebody with a bad attitude? Well, if you went to that person and said, you got a bad attitude, what would they say? They would say, what do you mean? I don't have a bad attitude. You have a bad attitude. Well, that person's attitude's never going to get better until they achieve internal honesty. That's why you see 2 honesties up there. One is internal, one is external. External is what we're used to. I have a few things that I put in red here because they're really, really important. For example, communication. If one of your goals next year is to become a better speaker. Now, I'm a little prejudiced about this because I've been a professional speaker, maybe not that professional, but I did it for a living. And here's the point. No better marketing tool than putting 20 people in a room and giving a dynamic presentation. But it doesn't happen unless you have a plan. Plan starts with something like joining Toastmasters and practicing. And by the way, you can get leads at Toastmasters. If you don't know what Toastmasters is, you can put a question in there and I'll answer it at the end. Very simple. And you can't attack all of these. Everybody's got strong points, enhance those. Everybody's got weak points, but you're not going to fix all your weak points at the beginning of this year. Pick 1 or 2 that you can work on. For example, opportunity. I also highlighted that. I look at the transaction as an opportunity. Many look at a transaction as a paycheck. It shouldn't be in your goal planning, I will do this many transactions. It should be each transaction will lead to this. What is it going to lead to? Great customer service, removing stress from people's lives, to distinguish yourself from the competition, to generate a lifetime of referrals by leveraging the transaction. Think about this. If you look at each transaction as having its own sphere, for example, for a realtor, a listing should be a lead machine. I could give you a training, and at one point I will this year, where you could learn how to generate all your business just from your closed transactions. It wouldn't cost you any money. It wouldn't cost you any major time in marketing right from your transactions. Hope to come back to that at some point this year. Investment, so important. I don't care if you're a loan officer, I don't care if you're a realtor. You're building a business. There are three things you must invest to succeed: money, time, and energy. Imagine if you opened a retail store. How much money would you invest? $500,000 could be. How much time would you spend running the business? How much energy would you put in? Well, you need to think of your business and what are you willing to invest? Guaranteed, if you are lacking in any of these three things, your business will not succeed. Let's go to our second segment in services. And I have two slides here, one for originators, one is for realtors. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the slide. You can see all the services. I can't decide from you which one you're going to decide. I will say two things. Let's talk about the red. Number one, purchase and refis. What I'm asking there is, what is your mix of business and what is your goal for your mix of business? If you're 60% refis today, you want to be 60% purchases. What do you need to do to get there? And the other thing is, when you see this list, and I even have another you can add, remember the law of infinity. Remember what I said at the beginning. You can't set too many goals. If you want to have a specialty, let's say it's working with veterans and VA loans, okay? You can't do 20 other things as well. You've got to go deeper. The key to marketing, the key to any type of business is to be consistent. If you try to do too many things, you can't be consistent. Going to the agent, notice I start the same way. Listings versus purchases. So, one thing I always ask a realtor when they set their goals is, how do you want to change your mix of business? If your mix of business is 80% purchase today, do you want to increase the amount of listings? Then later we can talk about those listings generating more business. But what do you want to do in your mix of business? And then, again, who do you want to serve? Do you want to serve first-time home buyers? Do you want to serve the military? Do you want to basically specialize in rehabs, foreclosures, and so forth? Again, I'm not here to make that decision for you today. I'm here to get you to think about it. And if you're not thinking about this, you're not thinking your business as a whole. As a whole. Just checking here for the deck. Still getting some questions in. That's good. That's good. Now, the third segment is your business sources. Where's your business coming from? If I was in a room, I'd ask you to raise your hand. How many of you would rather get more referrals next year? Most would raise their hand. If you're doing 30% referrals, 30% marketing, and 40% cold calling, most people would say, I'd rather do 90% referrals. Well, if you want to do more referrals, what do you need to get there? So again, I'm asking how you want to change the mix of your business. And by the way, we're going to get into sphere marketing a bit. I don't buy, somebody comes in the industry and says, oh, you got a cold call for the first 4 years. If you really believe in spheres, that person who comes in this industry has a sphere, and if they want to get referrals, they just need to start with their sphere instead of cold calling. Again, that's another webinar that I do at another time. Now that we're talking about the mix of business, now we can talk about, getting a little bit more from these business sources. What are your top referral sources? And what can you do to don't want to eliminate them, obviously. And then 3 referral sources that you'd like to add or strengthen this year. Now, in the planning, I'm going to give you room to put even more targets than this. But obviously, we want to keep this short today. But I want you to, again, to start thinking about it. Think about your top referral sources and how can you enhance that relationship? And who do you want to add to that list this year? Then we get to the actions. You will not improve your business without improving your marketing. So let's talk about 3 to 5 marketing actions you take today on a regular basis. What percentage of income does that produce? What should your goal be for that? And what do you need to do to achieve that? So if you're doing, I don't know, open houses every weekend, but it's only providing 10% of your income, you want to make it 30%. What do you need to do to make that happen? And again, be specific. What do you send out? How often? To how many within your sphere? Actions would include phone calls, mailings, seminars, articles, events, open houses, and more. Now, the question is, what do you want to add or eliminate from the list? If something is not working, you either enhance it or get rid of it. But you can add things. What I don't want you to do is forget about the law of infinity, where if you do too many things, you can't be consistent on any of these things. So let's keep it short. If you got 5 good ones now, well, let's say 4 good ones and 5 bad ones, you might want to eliminate one, but add another. Implementation is the key. Implementation is the key. Again, we're getting some good questions in. How many times in the past have you made planning goals and then you never implement? You got stuck in the fires and everything else. Here's the point. Every goal you make needs an implementation plan. The plan's got to be specific. Where, when, how often. Again, you got to be realistic. You can't have too many things to implement at once. And remember that you must implement one step at a time. Put the plan in writing. That's why we have a form for you. Announce the plan. Make sure everyone knows the plan. The psychological commitment is important. And implement immediately. When I say immediately, what I mean is you don't start implementing your plan January 1st. Today is when the year 2020 starts. So I mentioned sphere marketing. I'm just going to give you a taste of what I teach in sphere marketing. And I really think it's the basis of referrals. Top producers get their business by referral. Their referral comes from their sphere. Therefore, the bigger your sphere and the more value you deliver to your sphere, the more sphere you're going to get. So I've got a 4-step marketing plan. Identify your sphere, which means going backwards and forwards. Grow your sphere, which means activities moving forward. Prioritize your sphere, because you can't have lunch with everybody in your sphere, and deliver value to your sphere. If you put 5 per day in your database, you would have 12,000 in 10 years. How many of you guys have that are listening today? And I know some people say, oh, you need to cull your database. You need to make it smaller. The reason why is they're thinking that the database is only about delivering value to you. But when I say deliver value to your sphere, think about it. Think about your top referral sources. They're in business. They're in business, and therefore, the more that you can help their business, the more referrals you're going to get. Well, if you've got a big database, you've got a lot of connections, and you ask the right questions. And by the way, I'll tell you what the question is. What other challenges do you have in your life? That comes from the book, Money on the Table, from the founder of BNI. If they have a wedding going on next year and you can refer a wedding planner because they're part of your sphere, all of a sudden you're helping the wedding planner and you're helping them. By the way, 50% of the people who get married buy or sell a home within 1 year before or after getting married. So I would want a wedding planner in my referral database. By the way, here's the segmentation of your database. Personal sphere, present and previous customers, previous prospects, associations, vendors, co-workers, professionals. The plan, really simple. Move people into your sphere and move people up in priority. Prioritization is a major component. Again, I'm giving you a 3-minute rendition of a complete marketing plan, which I present in another webinar. But it's to demonstrate. You can't just say, I'm going to get more referrals next year. You have to have a plan. That plan is going to have to revolve around sphere marketing if you want referrals. Let's talk about implementation obstacles. I get this all the time. I get pulled into fires every day. How do I implement the plan? This is the biggest challenge you'll face, I guarantee it. How to focus on your goals all year long. Here's a few keys. First of all, we want to drill down to a daily plan with action goals for every day. You must have a daily list. Do it every night before you go to sleep or every morning before you go into the office. Make adjustments the next day if you don't get things done. Don't do adjustments next week or next month. Make daily adjustments. Do a little bit every day to accomplish a lot. Every goal is achieved step by step. Be strong enough to say the word no. The day-to-day fires are louder, but are they more important? Delegate. My question to you is, what do you do every day that you shouldn't be doing? Are you typing into the database yourself? Are you writing newsletters? Let me tell you something. If you have children, they're better at technology than you are, most likely. Instead of giving them an allowance, put them on the payroll. Are you personally doing credit repair? You should be talking to prospects and building your sphere. Use the buddy system. If you know you're not good at something like making calls, call reluctance, another topic, team up with a buddy. Work with them every day. Touch base with them. You can help them, they can help you. You've got, some people call that an accountability partner. I've always used the word buddy because I guess we didn't have accountability partners when I wrote that book 30 years ago. Make it fun, have a contest. I can't say how important this is. Doing all this work, trying to get this stuff done is not worth it if you're not going to make it fun. So if you achieve a goal, if you do something really good, celebrate. Go out to dinner. Do something wild and crazy. Like, turn your cell phone off for a couple hours. Make it fun. Do it. And use synergy. That makes it easier. Everything you do can be connected to something else. That comes from my book, Maximum Synergy Marketing. For example, if you have a relationship with a builder, did you know that 90 5% of the people who visit that site don't buy there. What do they do with those leads? I got realtors and loan officers that are buying leads, and the builder they know is sitting on them. You could help bring them back into the site. If not, if they buy somewhere else, you can sell them somewhere else. Again, just has to do with having a relationship with the builder. Some of you do. There, you can find synergy in anything you do. It makes tasks easier, less energy, less expensive. And that way, you can get more things done. So, let's talk about what we went over today. We started with what is important, your present goals. Then we talked about your present activities. What do you need to add, enhance, eliminate, minimize? What do you need to change about yourself to get more results? The all-important mirror phase. What services do you want to concentrate in? How do you want to change your mix of business? What business sources that you want to add, minimize, eliminate, enhance? How do you want to change the mix of your business? Referrals versus cold calling versus advertising. What marketing actions do you want to add or minimize or enhance? And then what implementation obstacles do I need to overcome? This is a lot to think about, isn't it? But you're in a business. So if you want to put together a business plan, it's not about putting a couple of numbers down on a piece of paper. It's about getting more specific about your business. And when you see my planning sheet, it's all about that. Hopefully you found today really helpful. I've already gotten some nice comments in the panel, and I really appreciate it. I'm not going to read them. Well, I will read them, but I won't read them out loud. But I do appreciate the nice comments. I'm going to stop the recording right now.